Hey, podcast listening people, welcome to another edition of the B2B Mentors podcast. And we are bringing you expert interviews, business celebrities, and thought leaders to help you grow your business, scale, be a better leader, and ultimately be able to grow not only your personal self as in potential entrepreneur, maybe you're an entrepreneur, but at the end of the day, the best way to create success for yourself is you have to learn from the right people and those who are out there doing that, actively doing it. And so do me a tiny favor, make sure you please, if you find any value in this conversation, share it, not only for you, but I guarantee you there's somebody else in your network who's going to get great value out of this, especially this topic we're going to talk about today, which is going to be very interesting. And I'm really excited to have this with my boy, Ryan George, who is the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer at Docupace, the wealth management industry go-to back office platform. He's a brand builder, content creator, idea connector, and conscious leader, shining a light on the best of what the financial advice and investment industry has to offer. So I think this is going to be really unique compared to a lot of the other podcasts we've done. And, hook 'em horns, baby. Like we said.
Well, hey, Connor, thanks for having me. I guess I'm going to have to live up to that. So, let's see how it goes.
I'm pretty confident you can pull it off. And I know you're a Longhorns fan, as am I. I have some family down in Georgetown in that area, big Longhorns fans. So, it's always good to connect. But, give us a little bit of context. You're a very busy practitioner. You've been in the wealth management world for, how many years has it been now?
So it has been almost 20. So I started right out of college, and I have been in financial services in different roles ever since. So I started off answering phone calls as a rep, phone, ding in your ear, thank you for calling such and such, how can I help you? And I've moved on to different roles since that, but I love it. I think there's a lot that this industry does for people, does for families. And, I'm happy to be, part of something that's so important for people.
And specifically, how did you wind up in the wealth management world and then ultimately into a chief marketing, leadership marketing position in this world as well?
Yeah, my story's kind of interesting. When I was applying to UT, I wanted to go to business school, and I thought, well, I'll have to have a backup. So I circled public relations because I thought it sounded cool. Well, I didn't get into business, ended up getting into public relations school. When I got there, it turned out it was like the third best public relations school in the country. Like, oh, well, maybe I should see this out. So I got into public relations, which then has led me into a career in marketing, overseeing communications, marketing, all things. So I have, it's been an interesting journey. Sometimes it's been a fast moving career. Sometimes it's been a little bit slow. There's bumps here and there, but it's, all the while, I think it's been something I've been very proud of and very grateful for.
And what is it about marketing? Like, what intrigues you, excites you, in the world of marketing?
It's about the excitement to me. It's about sharing something that's exciting or interesting enough that I can connect with the other person, the other human. I always think that it's humans to humans, right? We can talk about all this other stuff, but are you connecting with the humans on the other side? And I think that's something that I strive for as much as I can within what we do, is just to make sure that we are speaking to the needs, the language, and also just out there sort of showing that what we stand for as well.
I love it. Yeah. So what is it, right now, I think a lot of marketers are interested to hear, and you sell to a very unique set of industries. And, speaking of investing, where have you heavily invested in your marketing in the past 12 months? And what are some areas that you're looking to expand upon that, going into next year?
Well, like most marketers, so we are B2B mostly. We're starting a little bit of a trickle of B2C, but mostly we're B2B, selling through enterprise. So, we went heavy on events that stopped, around 2020, but those have come back. And also we do a lot of content creation. So we try to have, social media posts, content, blogs, downloads that are really speak to not only what's going on in the industry, but how our solutions can help them, and sort of, again, trying to share useful information to the audience. What I think is interesting is I'm shifting our budget to be more digital. What that means is, how can I get in front of, with all the different targeting tools through Google or ABM or even LinkedIn now, how can I get our stuff in front of an audience that I choose that I think we can get in front of? Because there's 10,000 things that are trying to get their attention at once, and I think that's always going to be the marketer's dilemma. So trying to find our way to do so. Events have been interesting because everything is so expensive these days. So you have to find the best place.
You don't say.
Yeah, you have to be, plus travel's expensive, food on the road's expensive, and so trying to find the best ROI is important. But I also try to think of, well, what's the cost of not being there, right? So what's the cost of not networking with the other people around and not being seen? There's some cost there. So it's always a mix.
So events really getting in, I'm at, like, was Docupace very heavy into digital before you had stepped in, or did you take over and, start kind of moving them that direction?
We had not. So, Docupace, we're a 20-year-old fintech, which makes us somewhat of a grandpa in the space. But we had not been very digital. Our marketing needed a bit of modernization, and really what it needed was a bit of sexiness appeal added to it. So one of the things that we sell a back office platform. So it does automation, efficiency. It essentially makes the people who process all the stuff behind the scenes, makes their job easier, faster, more accurate. And that's not something that's the shiniest object in the world. What are you for? Efficiency. However, I could go ask 100 people, and every single one of them would say, yes, I would like my job to be more efficient in my job. And you know what? Their bosses would say that as well. So there is some sexiness to it. There's definitely an ROI in terms of being able to deploy our platform.
And so people kind of understand your market, and who knows what kind of connections may come out of someone just even listening to this podcast. Who are the actual personas that your brand, is looking to build more relationships with?
Sure. Well, we have two sort of main buying groups. The first group is our historical buyer, which is the enterprise buyer inside what we call like an independent broker dealer or home office. So they are a centralized corporation that then serves a bunch of affiliate advisors that are spread out across the country. So it's hundreds and thousands of advisors. The benefit that we provide is putting all these advisors and offices on a single workflow and a single process. So again, gain efficiency. What we've added in is selling directly to the end user that are independent. So they may break away or have an own RIA, which is a different subset of the market. And so that's a little bit different for us. So we've had to develop more training for deployment and also for usage of the platform, since we had previously done so through the enterprise. We've also had to build out some more customer support techniques and all sorts of things to really deal directly with the consumer. And I think that's something that's been a learning period process for us.
Yeah, and leadership too. I mean, you've worked with a lot of very, I would say, what's the word for it? Like not archaic, but institutionalized
dinosaurs,
institutionalized companies. And your brand, Docupace and the leadership there is probably like at some point, hey, this is, how we've done business forever. We go, we shake hands, we, have a cocktail. Did you find any, because there's a lot of marketers probably going through this position. Did you find pushback or resistance to rebranding, making a massive effort to go more digital? And how did you navigate that as a CMO?
So rebranding, no. I think we came up with a good look, and also I think it was adding excitement. So we had a private equity, which is how I'm here, a private equity investment firm, FDV Capital, purchased a majority stake in April 2020, which brought in our CEO, David Nock, who subsequently I had worked with before, brought me in. So we're already in a period of change, right? It was excitement. People knew that, hey, there's something afoot at Docupace. But going back to your point about sort of the dinosaur nature of the business, that's actually one of our best opportunities, because two things will happen. People from outside the industry will come and say, well, I'm going to put this whole thing on its head and we're going to modernize it. That's the bad path. You need to incrementalize the change in order to, these businesses are big, they're large, they're steady, and they're stable, meaning like you don't disrupt clients' trust. We have clients' money, but you can make innovation, you can make change. You just got to figure out how to do it to where it's palatable and digestible for the group.
And I noticed something when I was going through your LinkedIn company page on your the company page was a sign up button, which directed you to your newsletter.
Yep.
You know, talk about that. What was the thought process behind that?
Sure.
Because that's
So
unique also to a lot of companies. They're like, I need to go to my website, sign up, do a demo, but you're going a little bit more on the education route.
every technology company will always think, do the demo, do the demo, do the demo. Well, with the niche that Docupace occupies, it's benefit for us, for people who come to us when they know what they're looking for. They know what they're going to buy. And so from a content standpoint, I need to go out and earn the trust of that recipient. So we have a monthly content newsletter. It's not salesy. It's all stuff that's built in the industry, because I need to earn my way into their email box. It's hard to get in these, even if you can get into past all the spam filters and all the other things. Getting somebody to open it, hard. Getting somebody to read it and click, even harder. And so the way that I feel like as a marketer I could do so is to provide them something of value. So we've invested heavily there. It helps support our product lines. So we're not just shilling for what we do, but we're also shilling that what our expertise in doing so.
And, talk a bit on what's working best for you right now. Like if you had to pick only one channel and you could only use this channel to reach your target audience, what would that be right now?
I think digital advertising through Google has been most effective for us, and from a cost perspective as well as a return.
This is pay-per-click, basically.
Yes, keyword search and other. They have
SEM
in the way that they're building out the platform now, where you can do the targets. I think is something it's important for us, just because we do have we have the benefit of having a defined audience to sell into. But it's also immediate. I can set up a test for a week, sit up there, see how it goes, change the wording, go back. I mean, it's very easy to work with and modify on the fly, versus trying to build out sort of old school marketing, this 20-piece campaign that's going to go set and run for 6 months. I feel like I'm trying to be more nimble in how we approach things.
Yeah. What's something maybe that hasn't worked as well as you thought it would, in recent, really?
Email. So I think part of the challenge is, for me, email to be effective, you need to follow it up with other things. So following up with a phone call, following up with some other connection. Email on itself is not going to get somebody to act, because it's, even if they take interest, they're really ready to buy at that moment. And I think that's because email is so easy to send, and we can sort of get drunk on email a little bit. So trying to find the way to be sort of space it out in a way that doesn't disengage the audience.
Mm-hmm. Break through that noise, hit people in a different way. And
How
you
long
mentioned
should email be, all the like what time to send it. All these games that we try to play. I mean, I like try to maybe send it on a Sunday morning, see if that works. Just try to do something different.
Yeah. When you mention events too, it's funny because a lot of like cold calling still works. A lot of these old school methods, marketers try to get overly fancy a lot of the time and try to over techify their brand, when a lot of the tried and true still works, especially if you're trying to work to these very dinosaur and selling to very kind of dinosaur industries.
Yeah, it's
a little bit of both.
It definitely works, but you have to be really conscious in doing so, because it's hard work. And so, as going back to your question about what's working, I think we have worked from a PR or earned media standpoint to really elevate what we are doing and to elevate our position in the marketplace. I think that in itself opens doors for us. So when people see our name in their inbox, they know who we are, or they see us on social media, or see us at an event. I think that's been helpful, because people know, hey, there's something exciting going on at Docupace. Maybe I should listen.
Yeah, talk about that more on a PR perspective. What does that entail for you on the PR front?
Yeah, so it's also a mix. So we do a lot of byline placements. We do quite a few of trade association sort of engagement, whether it's company updates or other things like that. But we also try to find sort of overarching macro trends that we can really introduce to a publication or introduce to a writer, sort of with what's going on there. But what it really is for me is, how do we have that consistent cadence of Docupace's name showing up in the headlines in a good way, consistently showing up? And what you'll find is, the sort of first year I was here doing PR, it was a lot of us pushing out stuff, sort of generating the buzz. And then really at the end of that year, it started to turn to where the industry is starting to talk about us more than us. And so that's really where I can tell it's starting to take hold.
Are you going to launch a podcast?
I've thought about it. I don't need any more things to do, but I do love talking about this stuff.
Come on, you're not busy enough, I'm sure.
I do think it's something that would be fun. What I need to do.
I mean, you're good at it. You've done a few. You're pretty good on the other end too.
I've done. I like this, I mean, in the pandemic, I really missed. This is the stuff that I like. I like
Yeah.
engaging with people. I like having intelligent conversation. My favorite times are sitting around like a restaurant dinner table with a bunch of interesting people, right? So that's one of the things I like about the medium is we can actually talk. If you get interviewed by press, they want, quote here, quote there. This is actually a real conversation.
Yeah. I of all the I think you and I are in a unique position to talk on this subject, and especially you, which is in the intrapreneur world as a CMO, as a marketing director. You're making some good money and trying to figure out, like, what do I do to take my income and turn that into wealth? And so, what is, from your perspective, first off, do you invest? If so, where? How do you go about that? And maybe what would you, from your perspective, recommend for other entrepreneurs to grow their income outside of just their job?
Sure. So the interesting thing about people sort of in our generation or in the younger generations is they spool up business lines all the time. So I was reading a news story about it in the pandemic, all these people who bought up Airbnbs, and we are sort of in the Renaissance, golden era of entrepreneurship. But I'm more sort of old school in a certain sense of I tend to dive into what I'm doing. So if I try to spread myself too thin, I just will never sleep or never spend time with my daughter or my wife. So I have a single source of income with Docupace. I first step, and I want to preface this by saying I'm not a financial advisor. I just love the space, love the industry, working in my entire career. First things first, maximize all tax advantage solutions. So that's something that taxes, regardless of who's in the office at the time, taxes are always going to be a big knock on whatever your gains can be. Also, diversify away from, if you are working in tech, working at a startup, you might likely have some sort of shares within the company. Find ways to get your other money away from that so that you're not single basket into the company, just because you never know where things will work out. Hopefully everybody hits it big. We could be the next Elon Musk and shoot rockets and buy birds, but that's not how it works for everybody. And that the other thing is find a financial advisor. They're easy to work with. There's plenty good certified financial planners out there. They'll be upfront about cost. It's not about selling. It's about coaching. It's about, really, if you have a spouse, it's about getting you two on the same page to understand how you both view money and sort of what that money is to be, and sort of creating that plan. And I think that's important. And my wife, Andrea, and I will about once a year, we'll sit down and revisit. Okay, here's where we did well. Here's where we could do better. And it's just so easy to have that check-in and to have that third party that can help sort of be the sounding board.
Yeah. How do you, in your experience, how do you identify a good financial planner in that scenario?
So look them up. So on Broker Check shows if they have any
what was that again?
Broker Check through the regulator will show if they have any sort of bad judgments on them. But also ask for referral. See what they're doing. Talk about social media. See what activities they're doing. If you follow somebody long enough, they're going to show their real self. And I think that's something that you can see as well. But and look for, what is the company, ask them what the company's values are. What do they stand for? Are they involved in charitable things in the community? Are they more than just, investments? I think that's something that's important.
Mm-hmm. I think that's interesting. Very interesting. And
in a down market like this year, it's keep putting money in. Like long term, everything tends to go up.
Long term, yes.
My dad's just into retirement, and every time the market drops, he's like, I need something. Like, no, just hold. And most people, if you can put money away over long term, you'll be okay.
100%. And the one major thing that I think is probably one of the most important that you touched on is, and I'm really impressed by, is focus, which is focus on the one thing, increasing have you fully maximized your income stream? Because as you mentioned, it's easy to try to chase so many things because entrepreneurship is so attractive, alluring, and there's so many ways to do it. But then you're taking attention away from possibly really truly maximizing your income, especially if you negotiate yourself in a CMO position correctly. Do you have percentage of the company? Do you have additional income streams? Are you getting portions on growth? And anybody can company and negotiate that and maximize that. And that should be your investment probably in the very beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the CMO. I'm here to make this company grow. So the more I can make it grow, clearly the better it will end up being for me. Not even just with the company. Well, what's my next position will be? I'm 40. I likely won't work till Docupace for the rest of my career. Hopefully so, but you never know. And you're constantly looking for. Well, you wouldn't say, well, I didn't have a good year that year because I had 4 jobs going on, and I got really tired because I was driving Ubers at night. Those things are good, especially when you're starting out. You're not maybe in the position that we are, so you're trying to just beg and scratch, and I totally get that. But there is some time where you flip and you need to get serious about your career or where you spend your time and energy, because it's on you. Like, you're the one that's a key driver, whether you're successful in your career or not. You got to put in the work.
Anything else top of mind, valuable, actionable you want to share before we wrap up here?
I'm really curious at how marketers are approaching sort of the age of polarization and misinformation, and how do you I feel like a lot of people are being pressed to take a side here or there, and seeing how people can fight back against that and figure out sort of what build out a way in the middle, I think is something that I continue to keep my eyes on, just because it's always going to be tough for us, right? We're the ones that sort of have to live out there invisible for everybody else.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Like, even in the microcosm of marketing, trying to figure out what is the right information, who's the right person to get it from. Is it misinformation? Is it, legitimate or not? Is this an actual practitioner I'm learning from? Or is this a high level guru who's only gotten an MBA, who's talking about what to do with your, marketing?
But they've got lots of bots that build their Twitter following. Yeah. You have to sniff it out.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you being here, man. And anything else, in terms of how people can find you, follow you, get into contact with you, what's the best way to do that?
Sure. For me, easiest place is LinkedIn. So Ryan George and LinkedIn, you'll see my smiling mug face there. Also with Docupace, DOCUPACE.com has lots of information about a company, lots of cool, interesting content to write. I mean, interested to hear anybody's feedback of how we can make improvements, or if there's something that you find interesting, I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. And outside of even obviously clients, is there any resources you and a company as the company are looking for, you want to maybe publicly share? You never know. There may be hires or resources or tools or whatever.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I would like to bring more animated short videos into our marketing mix. However, I've probably pitched a solution 4 or 5 times a day. It's a really hard thing to just, so I'm going to go vet vendors out there. So if somebody knows of a good one that they trust, that think they do good work, send it my way.
Let's talk, man. Our company's proven provencontent.com. So might be the perfect kind of funny scenario there. But with that, man, I can't thank you enough. This was really helpful information. And everyone, make sure you go follow Ryan. Again, true practitioner. Check everyone out at Docupace. Go see what they're doing. Learn from them. Maybe there's a partnership opportunity there. I'm sure you guys, as you're growing, you're hiring for various number of positions.
Sure.
And, make sure you're subscribed, because then you'll get notified when we launch new podcasts.
Thank you, King. Appreciate that.
Yeah, appreciate it, brother. All right, everyone, make it great, and I'll see you on the other side.